Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Whatever time it is by you, I hope you're doing well. I am getting ready to take a free quick draft with the gold that they give us. Um, I'm just kind of catching up on just to give you a sense of why I do it this way, is because I came into this game somewhere around here at the Brothers War, and these sets were really far behind. Shadows of Innistrad gave me a few extra cards over here, but for the most part, before I started doing these quick drafts, I was in like the 20% range. And very specifically, there were a lot of really solid like cards in this set. This was like one of the best sets for rares and mythics. You know, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Bankbuster, Wandering Emperor, Invoke Despair. Just kind of feels like every single one of the rares were super overpowered, and the drafting experience is light years better than Phyrexia All Will Be One. Like, it's not even close. Like, Phyrexia All Will Be One is super, super frustrating and bad. You always feel like you're playing a game of Magic when you're limited in this set. So because of that, I have kind of taken my first stab at doing quite a few drafts in the quick draft format, just getting better at it. We're coming down to the end, last couple of days with this being available. There's a new set coming out. They'll rotate the quick draft over. I can't remember which one they're going to stick in. Something tells me it might be Brothers War, which I would be excited about too. Although I have a more of the set. So most of the people that are drafting now are not drafting for value. Like, they're not collecting rare cards. They're collecting cards that help them win because they're able to kind of, enjoy the drafting experience and, continue to propagate gems and continue to kind of move forward. This is our 12th draft, and we have spent less than 2,000 gems, like, for 12 drafts. So we're not doing terrible on the go infinite type of style, because this is our really first chance at trying to draft consistently in a format and get good at it and move up the rank. Our last draft did not go well at all. We only got 2 wins out of it, but the 2 drafts before, I'm sorry, 3 drafts before, all achieved 5, 6, or 7 wins. We got a trophy, and then we got 5 wins, and we got 6 wins. So I feel pretty good about our performance when we're out on the field, and yeah, I mean, we've definitely stabilized the gems from going down. We've kind of been living in this zone. We have been spending some gold, to win some gems back. You don't win a ton of gems back if you're not winning some games. So you still want to kind of treat it like, hey, let's take this thing seriously. But it's a lot easier to say, yeah, let's do a quick draft in this kind of circumstance. Pick One, Pack One has some pretty nice stuff in it, if you ask me. Behold the Unspeakable is a very, very good card in the grinding out kind of way, especially if you lean into the keeping cards in hand kind of strategy. Go Shintai of Boundless Vigor is very slow, doesn't affect other things on the board. It has to be kind of ignored, so it's not something that you cast on turn 2 or turn 3 with any hope of it being anything more than just kind of a blocker. A lot of fixing in this pack, not much green in this pack. But with that being said, Akami of Transience is a really, really excellent card, both in this draft format and if we end up wanting to play it later. And so I think that if we just lean heavily into green enchantments and we try to make almost every card an enchantment, this does solve some card draw kinds of things. So we're looking for word enchantment, and we're looking for this thing because whenever you cast that enchantment spell, it grows. If it gets killed because it's a big threat, the next enchantment spell you've got brings it out of the graveyard back to your hand, hi you, and then you can go bring it back out there again, and then again continue to pump it. Pretty good card in general, and just a big beat stick beater with the trample effect. Michigo's Reign of Truth is one of the cards that I would want to pair with this, because I think that, like, tossing all those enchantment +1s onto it, something with a trample body and letting it attack, sort of um, with abandon, like reckless abandon, just going straight at. Even if it gets killed, it's okay. We can bring it back. We can bring it up there. We can do it again. So I'm going to go with our Kami of Transience as a really nice, aggressive, enchantment-based creature. And probably moving us down into that enchantment line more than other cards would. And we're rewarded with a much better pack for enchantments. We've got a very good removal spell that also happens to be an enchantment. So you can almost think of this as like adding a +1, right, when it comes in the deck. We have a really good protection spell that we probably are going to wheel, or a really nice defender who's also an enchantment creature, another +1 that we're probably going to wheel. Even if we don't, I love this card. This card is super good. Um, Other cards to note, for for 7. But if you've got other, enchantments on the board, this thing can become a really nice flyer. So it's not bad in the enchantment deck, but it's not better than the aura over here, the removal aura slash enchantment pump. So I will take the Skybliss Samurai because of the fact that we are planning on controlling 3, 4, 5 enchantments at a time, and getting an opportunity to pull a 4/4 flyer out. That's tough in this format. All right, Jess, I will call you right back. So pick 2, removal spell, green white, enchantments starting to look good. Not an enchantment, but does bounce an enchantment, allowing you to recast it. Works good with Spirited Companion. Works good with some of the sagas. Dude, like I don't know why you're gonna call back to back like that. Let's go with, this is a good card too in enchantments, but I think that getting the card advantage is probably worth a lot more. Having something aggressive low to the ground that creates another trigger um, is really good. It's a nice target for things like the geothermal kami if we end up, getting it back. This is an artifact equipment. It's not really in the direction that we're trying to go. So we're really looking at the enchantments, and we're only seeing 3. I am not a huge Favor of Jukai fan. It is a really powerful card, but it's really expensive too. And I'd rather stay on the aggressive side of the curve than keep the card advantage. We do have another geothermal kami, which is really, like we were talking about, kind of a way to like reverse ninjutsu out the spirited companion. We don't see many other enchantments in the colors that we're in. The only other enchantment that's here is this Goshintai of Ancient Wars. Probably one of the better, if you did want to build a shrine deck, one of the better ways to do it. But I would rather have a geothermal kami. It's got a better presence on the board, gives us the ability to bring Spirited Companion back, adding extra +1 counters, getting an extra card advantage. There's just too many good synergies that happen with this card, and it plays, I think, a little bit better than it looks. And now we've got the Enchantment Lord, and I do think that this is a huge draw for us. There is almost nothing else in this pack that I would be even thinking of playing besides this or this. This is a tricky card to use because almost all the ninjas have like 2 toughness. Like this one has 2 toughness, but it bounces a creature. It's just tough. Like, so you almost want to like avoid this in the ninja deck. But we've got a Jukai of Naturalist. It's got lifelink. It makes the rest of our enchantment spells cheaper. Makes things like the Kami of Transient much easier to recast or the Spirited Companion easier to recast, and just an excellent card to fit in our kind of low curve that's going on. So we're super super happy. And it's not an enchantment. It's just really good. I do think this is a great card. Getting 2 of these would have been really nice if we were headed down that direction. Black is an incredibly good. The Virus Beetle is the opposite. It's like the antithesis of Spirited Companion. Repel the Vile can exile target enchantments, but it's kind of expensive. And if I'm really being honest, I feel like it doesn't. It's sometimes good in a pinch. Um, but this is always good. Like every time you play Imperial Oath, you're happy. So that's what we're taking, and they're on to us. They got rid of most of our green and white cards. So our choices here, if we're really kind of committing to this deck, and it feels like with such a strong start, 1, 2, 3, really like hugely important cards, and then there's nothing wrong with these. So we don't have a bad card yet. We don't have a bad pick yet. We could splash black if we took this. I'm not really that interested in that. There's not a lot of enchantments that synergize very well. Keep a Wreck and a Raid, but it's a turn one kind of thing. Shrine Steward, if we were going for the shrines, maybe. Artifact, uh, removal spell. Little slow, a little dirtily. Only does 3 damage. Taps one of your creatures when you do it. Can kind of hurt. Or a filler enchantment creature. I think we'll take the filler enchantment creature because it's essentially a 2-drop if the Jukai Naturalist hits the deck on there. And so it gets a lot better because it's also handing out the +1s on the Kami if it happens to be around. This Kami of Transience, not this Geothermal Kami. But boy, if you were in the Blue Ninja deck, you were going to be pretty happy. There were quite a few of these. So my choices here would be one of these two, and I'm just going to just lean so heavily into this in hopes that maybe we get ourselves uh, one of those Michiko's Reign of Truth, and just having that extra, body on the deck, it would really play out well. I almost want to just take a pass here. Um, Not in either of our colors. No chance, I think, that we're splashing blue at this point right now. Red is not really an option, so we're taking green because it's a cheap 2-body. That's the only reason why it would make the grade. Um, so blue and black were both very much wide open. You can see that the bots picked all of our colors for the most part. Got a land here that lets us splash other colors, which isn't bad. Sometimes it can kind of fix if you need that white to catch the naturalist on the early side of things, and you see that you grab nothing but greens across the board. It can kind of smooth that out. Season of Renewal, though, pretty good in this deck. Return an enchantment card from your graveyard back to your hand, or return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Choose one or both. I really think that this is pretty good. There's more utility, I guess, in the Season of Renewal. This format has not played like so hyper aggressive that if we don't have a 2-body, a 2-drop, we're dead in the water. So we're going to take a Season of Renewal on the idea that it's going to help us like a lot. And yeah, we wield this and we wield this. Hmm. I kind of think that this is a better trick. This is just kind of very dirtily. It's a 1-1. It's kind of a good way to put some board presence, hand a 1-1 over. But we don't have like dual strikers, and we don't have things that are flying and evasive. We're going to try to be beefy on the ground. And if you're beefy on the ground, you want to retain your beefiness as you go. So a Tamio Safekeeping for a Kami of Transience is a really nice pairing. And it kind of forces them to think about us all the time, every attack. Network Terminal does turn into a card draw. Tap another untapped artifact we don't have. We're really kind of leaning away. Here is an Artifact Defender. Um, Maybe an enchantment that kind of be kind of an end game sort of sneak. If we were going to splash, we'd rather splash a 5-drop than anything. So Kami of Industry enters the battlefield. You get to return an artifact card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then it gains haste, and then it's dead. So we're going to stick you as our first sideboard card. First card, we made it all the way to pick 11 before we had to take some really, truly bad cards that didn't fit in the deck. We do have one filler card, possibly two, but I think we're doing really good so far. We'll take the Paper Graph Decoy again as like a, break glass if necessary kind of way to replace itself. And none of these cards look very good. So just filling out the collection and taking a suit up and taking an Anchor to Reality. And a Moon Snare prototype. Yep, so you can kind of see blue was available. Ho, 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 ho. What have we here? It's always nice to get into your next pack. It always feels like, oh, we made it. Restoration of a Ganja is pretty cool. Search your library for a Plains card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So, okay, we'll kind of replace our card with a mana card. You may discard a card, and when you do, you get to return a permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Hmm, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Um, Hopefully we can get a wheel over here. Definitely like this card, but not in our colors. Not really doing anything. But this is like kind of a slam dunk. There are some creatures though that are going to be nice on the enchantment side. Almost no chance of wheeling this, but I think I'd rather take this. It feels like getting an opportunity to bring back a spirited companion or maybe a future spirited companion that we can draw is just worth it. Plus, it's a rare. It fills out the collection. So our value drafting has kind of played out pretty well along the way. And now we are rewarded with one of the better enchantment cards as far as kind of taking into account the fact that this is a ramp spell and we're just really low and aggressive. We don't need this. I like the Oath quite a bit, but I think I can wheel it. I'm willing to risk Oath number 2 on the wheel. Um, Really nice black removal spell, really nice, or black removal creature, really nice black removal spell. A lot of things going in the right direction there. I think we'll just take the Generous Visitor though, because it's just, if the upside here is just off the charts. And as many journeys good. If we wheel it, we're happy, but it's not necessary. And another enchantment came our way in the rare side here. Okay, so I don't know how this thing works as well as I should. I do own one of them, and I have drafted one of them in the past. Um, this is also an enchantment creature over here. Other things, artifact, samurai, not our half of the white deck, so nothing really that we're looking for. Really filler down here in the green color. And if we're not in samurai, there's not a lot happening here. It's just another enchantment trigger. But this is an enchantment trigger. I'd rather try this than anything. Exile. Look at you gain 2 life. You look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile one of them face down with a hatching counter on it. Then put the rest of them bottom of your library. Then you exile this saga, and it turns into this dumb egg. Whenever this egg you control dies, you may cast a creature spell from among the cards in exile with hatching counters on them without paying any mana cost. So your idea is, do you have enough creatures? What's our current creature count? 7? Pretty good. Um, Considering we're in the enchantment style deck, take 7 creatures. There's not going to be a big body, but I can definitely see a geothermal Kami coming out and being an extreme value in this. So we're going to take the risk on the Dragon Kami Reborn and see if there is one of those like Tanukis or something like that that would really swing the game in our direction. And we got another nice aggressive creature over here. I do like this much more than this. I think this thing kind of rots in your hand sometimes a little too much. This definitely helps create some board state, but so does this. We don't, it does have reach, does do 3 damage, so it does prevent a lot of flying attacks along the way. And if you are in this set, like in this green deal, you do want time, right? We want more turns equaling more enchantments equaling more +1 counters. But the Fang Shijeki does that a turn earlier and maybe a little bit more effective because it becomes a bit more of a renewal, like removal spell. This is just sort of a, hold off kind of thing. This is really like, bite the bullet, man. You're going to have to do it on something. So we'll take the Fang of Shigeki. Shigeki, it's got one of the highest positive effects on your deck as far as like when you draft it. Do you win? And Okiba Reconnerate is probably the best card in the rest of this deck. Careful Cultivation's pretty solid as becoming kind of like the mana dork that gets out there. I don't need to get more 2-drop mana dork kinds of stuff. So I'm going to take Repel the Vile here on this. Um, I like having removal more than anything. Favor of Jukai should back up. So many good black cards, it's scary. An instant spell that likes enchantments because it kind of keeps the +1 that's on there is pretty good deal for 1 mana. I think I would rather do that than this, even though this one's an enchantment and this one isn't, because the missing +1 is right here, and we get a chance to put it on the thing that we want to put it on, right? Um, so Bearer of Memories, one of the bigger bodies that's out here. I do think we need to get some beef in this deck. Otherwise, we're just kind of sitting around waiting for nothing. So the Trainee is a 2-body, though, that I've been very happy with. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I guess we've been doing pretty good on the creature count. We're kind of 50-50 actually. Now that I think about it, I probably see this having a better chance at making our deck than this. I probably see this making our deck more than either of these. Now that I think about it. Um, I'll take the defensive blocker 2-drop over the dirtily chump blocker. All right, and more defensive cards, but again, I think there's more utility here later in the game than there is here later in the game. I've already got quite a few 1-drops, and we're going to stay in the more aggressive side. And look at you, look at you. Very, very happy to see this wheel. Not sure if that was supposed to happen, but it did. Story Weave um, hands out +1 counters, or puts 2 lore counters and then puts a +1 counter on the thing that survives. As far as lore is concerned, this thing's kind of neat as a body, and it would be pretty good to get out there early. Um, so it does kind of work pretty well with the restoration of a Ganjo, interestingly enough. Bearer of Memory, though, is, like I said, filler, but we need some beef. We need to get up higher on the we need to get higher on the creature count. We need to get higher on the ability to actually deal some damage. And so unfortunately I'm going to say no. We did see Wanderer's Intervention used to pretty good effect against us, so I do think that I will be taking that card. We could splash a little bit of red. We do have this red card sitting here, the Shattered States era. It is an enchantment. Um, a 3/3 Trample Haster. Creatures you control get +1 for a turn, and you gain control. That's all pretty powerful stuff. I have. Let's take a look here and see what the removal piece really looks like. We have a bit of a removal built into this, but it's a sacrifice removal. We have 1, 2. Yeah, so that probably decides. I'd rather have the removal than some random thing that happens way late in the game. Like, that's not going to work. Light the Way. Leech Gauntlet's a better card. I guess I'll just take the Leech Gauntlet to um, fill out the collection. That's our 4th one, which is good. Oh, we did get a Favor of Jukai. Channeling it for +3 is kind of a really neat little trick, so it's really more like a 2-mana drop. But if we get the opportunity to put pluses on it, that's kind of cool. Add any mana, but only spend it on a pilot or vehicle. Nothing that we would use, so we'll just hold on to the Kami of Industry, I guess, as the pick. And we're going into our final pack. We did end up wheeling this, though, and I'm going to hold on to it as a possible use. I'm not thinking that I'm going to like it, but I'll take it. Removal. Oh my god, all of our rares are in our side, and we needed them. Oh yeah. Okay, so really like Touch of the Spirit Realm. It's a little bit expensive. Really like Imperial Oath, and I'm desperate for that thing to wheel because I think that that's exactly what this deck needs. Some kind of threat at the top end of the curve. Life of Toshiro Umizama is in the color that has just been wide open the whole time. You could have drafted a pretty sweet mono black card deck, but Weaver of Harmony, what is going on here? This thing makes enchantments cheaper, this thing makes enchantments bigger. And for 1 green mana, you get to copy a target artifact trigger. And so maybe copying a dragon, maybe, getting an extra 2 life for 1 mana, not bad. Maybe bringing something back out of the graveyard that's 2 mana or less, putting it onto the battlefield. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Repeating that would be amazing. So definitely digging what's happening in our rare enchantment group. This is our 1, 2, 3, and this will be 4 rares, all happening to synergize. I'm really liking this. It's a very aggressive enchantment deck. That's just so strange. I don't know what to tell you. And we're left with a bit of a decision here because we've got a fun card to use. We're already at 24, and one of those cards looks like it's a land. So we actually already have a deck, right? We're at 13 creatures, 10 non-creatures. We'd like to get some more creatures that we feel strong about playing. Maybe things that we feel stronger than this about playing. Um, Possibly stronger than this. We do have some recursion coming out of the graveyard, though, as a way to kind of supplant the fact that we don't have a lot of card draw happening in here. I just think I'm going to just value draft the rare, though. I need it for the collection. It's kind of why we're here. Boy, we've got 4 rares in here already, and this would be rare number 5. Kind of hard to argue against this draft being good. If we really wanted to splash back, there's an opportunity um, with that card there at the bottom. It's not one that I'm likely to take. And we've gotten another rare card in the enchantment world. Man, nobody wants to take these things, huh? So the question is, would a geothermal, an uncharted haven, or another rare work best? I kind of think I'm going to lean into the rare. Let's take a look and read what it does. Return up to 1 target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Bounce spell. Good. Probably justifies half the cost right there. Return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. And if you can't, just draw a card. That justifies the other 2. Good. Exile this and come back as a flyer that says when you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value as that spell on their next turn. Kind of like a control deck saying, hey, you want to drop a 2-drop? Because you're not going to be able to. So I'm taking it because it's kind of cool. It definitely has a lot of value. It is late enough that it's like splashable enough. Um, so yeah, we just slammed it in there. Why not? Oh, this is really nice too, actually. Oh, but so is this. I think we're probably taking Tales of Master Shishiro. A 5/5 trample or vigilance haste is just the kind of beef we're looking for. And it hands out 2+1 counters for the step 1 and step 2, which we might even be able to repeat if a Weaver of Harmony has an extra one sitting around. Um, like this card, good chance that it wheels all the way. We'll see. But I'm going to take the Tales of Master Shishiro as the highest impact card in that top end where our deck needs it the most. Right? The Invigorating Hot Springs. We're not modifying. Well, we are modifying. We're putting +1 counters all over the place, right? Uh, you have to be aggressive to really want this, as all of its abilities are geared towards attacking. Yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, I don't know. Removal spell, which we probably are lacking. Filler 2-drop and protection spell. Um, not a not any different in the enchantment deck, so probably going to take the removal spell in hopes that um, this isn't the removal that we're depending on majority of time, but it's the removal that we'll take if we have to. An enchantment, an aura, um, a removal, an instant speed. I think that's good. So if I took the enchantment aura, this kind of helps me shut down the skies, and it helps me ramp, and it gives a +1/+3 to a creature that I might want to keep around. Right? Looking at you, Cammy. Um, I wouldn't tap it for the mana too often, but just casting it is going to give it +2/+4 for 3 mana. And if we can get that thing out there on the cheap, that feels like a much better swing in our direction than just taking out something that's attacking on our side. So I think I'm going to take the careful cultivation and carefully decide whether I want to play it or not. Um, hey, look at you, look at you, look at you. Isn't this the exact thing that we need to play the invention iteration? Right? Like you're exactly what I'm looking for. Jukai Preserver is really good too. There is another one that could wheel. I think we saw it about 2 or 3 packs back. It's unfortunately going to pass through a lot of hands before it gets to us. But I think this opens up a better card for us. And since we've already got a decent sized deck, I do think that I'll take this. This does solve an enchantment fissure. It basically takes out um, like this. I think we take the risk. We take the fixing, play the. Is it this one? No. Yeah, it's this one. Play the 4-drop over here and see. Another safekeeping, not likely to make the deck, but it's the best pick I've got. Nothing in white that I'm looking for, so we'll take the Season of Renewal. I'm just going to stick this thing on the sideboard already, though. I do like them. Taking a favor of Jukai. Again, just kind of keeping the enchantment aura alive in case we end up there. Really, really would rather have a creature at this point. Crafted Growth is kind of cool. When it enters the battlefield, you get to enchant a land. And then you get to put a +1 counter, and then it moves the mana up a notch, and it gets the +1 counter out the door, which would also trigger some of these. So as far as enchantments are concerned, we are like crushing it. We have 15 different enchantments that we're going to be selecting from. I kind of like this maybe a little bit more than this, but having the 2 mana +3/3 trick is almost like having a removal spell. Maybe. I think that we can grind, and the Grafted Growth will help us do that. I don't think either one of these cards makes our way, so we'll take our first Grafted Growth instead of our whatever, second favor of Jukai, third favor of Jukai. Yeah, we'll just take this. We're probably not playing it, but at least it's got it. Now we have another Season of Renewal. Um, and another Tamiyo Safekeeping. Come on, guys. Give us. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. We are splashing a little blue. Enchant an artifact or a creature, and when it enters the battlefield, put X +1 counters on the enchanted permanent. And as long as the enchanted permanent is a creature, it has a base power of 1 and 1. Ouch. We can't splash a double blue, so yeah, we have all these safekeepings. Disruption Protocol is also going to be very difficult to bounce. So the Gods of Wheels did not play in our favor, but the Gods of Rares definitely played in our favor. I'm going to point some things out here. Um, Season of Renewals are coming out of our ears. Tamiyo Safekeeping coming out of our ears. Flavors of Jukais coming out of our ears. Other cards that we might consider playing in blue for the splash kind of stuff now that we know we got it would be Suit Up as a trick that doesn't seem to fit. Um, that doesn't seem to work, and that doesn't seem to work. And I'll be honest, I don't think that's going to make our deck, and we know that's not going to make our deck. So let's take a look at how the deck exists from the creature side of things. Almost all of the cuts that I want to make are going to be non-creature spells because we only have 13 creatures, and these are, going to become creatures 1, 2, 3, and this one is really dirtily like it's an extra slow. So let's just say 2, just in case it misses, right? So I'm sorry, 3 right here. 1, 2, 3. We're really happy with the creature this becomes. We're really happy with the creature this becomes. It seems like we're going to be pretty happy with the creature this becomes. So, not to poo-poo them in any way, shape, or form, but um, what's kind of neat too about the geothermal kami is we get an opportunity to do some pretty cool things. When this one says when it dies, you have to cast a creature spell. So we would just have these other cards with exile if we were recasting it, just kind of creating sort of like a hidden creature like base that would come flying out. Weakest creatures that we have are the Coiling Stalker and the Bamboo Archer, as neither of them have a lot of synergy in what we're doing. Um, Weakest spells that we're looking at is the +1 counter. I think the careful cultivation is weaker than like the Seasons of Renewal. I don't think the grafted growth or the favor of Jukais hold a lot for us. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our cuts that we'd be making. Still leaves us with 6 more cuts. And I think most of them are going to be Tameo safekeeping. How about we go down 2 and down 1 and drop these out the board and take a look again and say like, okay, now I need to cut 3. There's almost no chance I'm cutting my one and only Imperial Growth. There's no chance I'm cutting my 2 removal spells, 4 removal spells, 5 removal spells. That's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hmm. We do have some very low impact cards in the creature count, but I just can't give up creature bodies at this stage of the game. This thing does return an enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand, getting an opportunity to bring back like a Restoration of Aganjo would be pretty good. Getting a chance to bring back a Tales of Master Shishiro would be really, really good. Bouncing, bring it back. This is all pretty solid. I think I need 1 Season of Renewal. I definitely gonna bring this thing back from the graveyard every time I cast an enchantment creature. So looking for a Kami of Transience on the early side of things. This would be kind of cool to bring back too. This would be good to bring back too. Man, this is exciting down here. I really like how the very low aggressive enchantment deck sort of turns this thing on its head. 2 Tameo safekeepings, since we've got everything coming back from the graveyard anyway, right? Like, the grave is no bar to my call, is what we're saying. This could get us a creature and an enchantment, which could mean a 2-for-1. Like, it's not just to replace it, spend your mana just to replace it. It's actually an enchantment, saga, and a creature back on the deck. And the fact that we're so low to the ground in our creatures, as far as being able to cast them on the cheap, is pretty exciting. Do I want to just get rid of 1 Repel the Vile? Hmm. 2.8. I definitely don't want to do any shenanigans with the mana at this point right now. And I'm not 100% certain that splashing a 3rd color makes the most amount of sense in this deck, but we need the green to be there, right? We really, really need the green to be there. The white has 2 spells, 3 spells, so we kind of need that to be there too, to be honest. I think we need 17 lands. The obvious cut is get rid of this. Not having played with it in the past, not really understanding this card, I would generally say just get rid of it. You don't, a bounce spell is just not worth, like it's not a take over the game kind of card. This is a take over the game kind of card. This is an experiment kind of card. We could cut this too and stay with the blue splash, but there are going to be times where we lose games, like take 1 of our 3 losses, or maybe even 2 of our 3 losses because of mana and nothing else. Especially being aggressive at the bottom. If we were trying to play a grind out kind of format, and we were really like kind of moving a lot of 3 drops, 4 drops, and trying to get up into this area, I'd feel a lot better about splashing color number 2, 3. But I don't think I'm gonna. I think that this deck hums much better. Creature count still 13. We didn't cut any. And non-creatures are 10. A couple of our non-creatures create a lot of creatures, though. 3 bodies with this non-creature spell. A big body with this non-creature spell. A removal on their side of the equation for 1, 2, 3, 4 of those non-creature spells. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 not really affecting the board. We kind of got to get lucky, so we're not even going to count that. But 7. So 7 of the 10 non-creature spells affect the board creature count. He drops his creature count down 1 or pushes up us up 1. And I think that if we're going to try to do this aggressive strategy, that's probably the answer. We are not going to want to grind out. We are going to want to attack, and we are going to want to pump Go Shintai. We're going to want to pump our Kami. We're going to want to use our Weaver of Harmony and our Tales of Master Shishiro to pump what's going on there. We're going to want to pump our board state and get wide by using the Weaver of Harmony with the Restoration of Aganjo. That's a pretty cool deck. Definitely not the typical shenanigan kind of deck that you see with the enchantment white and green kind of deck. Something very aggressive. And what kind of value did we pull out of it? Every single rare card we needed a copy of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? Like 6 different rares already? All of them were necessary in our collection? We're going to get one more pack. That makes 7. We got 7 rares for 5,000 gold. Yeah, and we still have to play the games. We might get 7 rares and 3, 4, 600 gems. All good. I have to do some work. So I am going to take a pause in the stream, and I'm going to get back to making some money. Um, but we'll take a look and see how this looks. We're going to test it a little bit and see if the splash is the right answer or not. I think that's the key.